Here are 50 amazing facts to blow your mind. There are ferries designed to transport entire rail cars. Train ferries allow for passenger and freight trains to directly roll on and off the ship from the rails. In 2010, a 2-ton hippo escaped from the Montenegro Zoo during a flood. After wandering around nearby farms for 10 days, she returned to her pen on her own accord. Her keepers have been keeping a close eye on her, giving her food when she came close to the zoo and covering her with hay at night. Hello My Baby from the old cartoons was the first popular song about the telephone and was about a man dating a lady over the phone without having ever met her. Of the 8 finalists from the 1988 Olympics men's 100-meter final, eventual bronze medalist Calvin Smith was the only athlete to never fail a drug test during his career. Smith later said, "I should have been the gold medalist." In 1967, a rocket from an F-4 Phantom was accidentally fired on the deck of the USS Forrestal due to a power surge. The rocket struck the fuel tank of an A-4 Skyhawk, causing a fire which then detonated the aircraft bombs. 21 aircraft were lost and 40 were damaged, as well as life was lost. In 2010, Greg Flanagan was found dead inside his locked Texas hotel room. He had no obvious external injuries but massive internal damage. After an 8-month investigation, it was found that a drunk guest in the room next to his accidentally fired a weapon into his scrotum. Martha Gellhorn was the only woman reporter at the D-Day landings. Having been refused accreditation, she got there by stowing away in the toilet of a hospital ship until it set sail. She went ashore with the medics to help bring back the wounded and reported on what she saw and heard. In the 19th century, a common treatment for syphilis was to flush the genitals with mercury. Milk duds are named after the candy's initial attempt to create a spherical shape and failing to do so. In March of 1962, during development of the B-58 Hustler, a black bear named Yogi became the first living being to survive a supersonic ejection. Many of the first giant sequoia trees discovered by Western explorers were cut down and exhibited at world fairs. Due to the sheer size of many trees, many fair attendees claimed that they were hoaxes. Boston Market was down to just 27 stores at the beginning of 2024, down from 300 just a year prior. And that's even more way down from over 1,200 that had operated during its heyday. In 2023, an infamous mafia hitman who was on the run for 16 years after ending people with a metal bar was discovered working as a pizza chef. His food became famous enough to be featured in the local newspaper, which tipped off authorities. There are just under twice as many kangaroos as humans in Australia. La Belle Otero was a 19th century Spanish courtesan with hypnotic black eyes, famous for her numerous high-profile lovers. She inspired hotel architecture with her figure, amassed $25 million, lost it all gambling, and died penniless at 96. Some types of figs require a special breed of wasp to pollinate the female fruits. The female wasp crawls inside through a hole so narrow that she loses her wings in the process and becomes trapped. The fig produces an enzyme that digests the wasp completely, so the crunchy bits are just seeds. The smallest statue in London is of 2 mice fighting over a piece of cheese that might have been created to honor 2 construction workers who died in the 1860s when they were fighting over a sandwich and fell from the building. By law, each person in Switzerland is entitled to a place of shelter underground. With the outbreak of the French Revolution, many chefs working for the aristocracy found themselves out of work. Those who escaped the guillotine opened their own restaurants, popularizing them over traditional food establishments like taverns and inns. Festivus was a real holiday created and celebrated by Seinfeld writer Dan O'Keefe's family as far back as 1966. In the O'Keefe family, there was no Festivus pole, but a Festivus clock that was nailed to a wall. When Dan asked his father why a clock, his father said, "That's not for you to know." The first computer virus, Creeper, was created in 1971 as an experiment. It displayed the message, "I'm the Creeper, catch me if you can," on infected systems. It was followed by the first antivirus, Reaper, specifically designed to remove the Creeper. Johnny Cochran, the defense attorney for O.J. Simpson, was also Snoop Dogg's lawyer who helped him obtain a non-guilty verdict for his 1993 charge. The Dumont network was the forgotten network that only lasted from 1940 to 1956. It competed with CBS and NBC, and after the network went bankrupt, most of the network film tapes were dumped in the New York East River. Even though he won the Academy Award for the Best Picture and Director for Gandhi in 1982, Richard Attenborough was disappointed and openly claimed that Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial should have won. Spielberg cast him as John Hammond in Jurassic Park to thank him. In the United Kingdom, Poland, Hungary, and the Netherlands, cassette data storage was so popular in the 80s that some radio stations would broadcast computer programs that listeners could record onto their cassette and load into their computer. In 1945, at 59 years old, Albert Stevens was misdiagnosed with terminal stomach cancer and as a result was secretly injected with 131 units of plutonium as part of a human experimentation project by Joseph Gilbert Hamilton. It was later discovered the cancer was an inflamed ulcer. Owls' ears are vertically asymmetric, giving them stereo hearing vertically as well as horizontally. The shortest-lived empire in history was a restoration of the Qing dynasty of China that lasted 11 days in July of 1917. Monarchists seized Beijing and reinstated Emperor Puyi, deposed 5 years prior and now 11 years old on July 1st, and were pushed back out of the Republican forces on July 12th. There was a short series of Garfield comic strips in Halloween of 1989 that depict Garfield waking up in an abandoned house alone and starving. Jim Davis wrote them to scare people. He said, "And what do people fear most? Being alone. Birds can go gray with age." K2, the world's second highest mountain, has nearly one person die for every 4 successful summits. Jeopardy contestant Dhruv Gower wrote "What is We Love You, Alex" as his final Jeopardy response while Alex Trebek was battling cancer. The message left Trebek visibly emotional and was widely shared as an example of fans' affection for the longtime host. After alleged Catholic involvement with the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, the US cut off diplomatic relations with the Holy See, aka the Pope, and did not restore them until 1984. Beethoven kept his hearing loss a secret. He once wrote but never sent a letter to his brother confessing it and explained that people mistakenly thought he was antisocial. He longed for human contact but became a recluse out of shame for his condition, and all of this made him deeply depressed. When Louis XVI was executed in 1793 during the French Revolution, his severed head was paraded around the crowd and was met with exclamations of "Vive la République!" Edward Hill died only 2 years after reaching internet fame from the Trololo song. Lord Nelson, one of the most successful naval commanders in British history, suffered from seasickness throughout his entire career in the Royal Navy. In a letter, he wrote, "I am ill every time it blows hard, and nothing but my enthusiastic love for my profession keeps me 1 hour at sea." The first UPC marked item ever to be scanned at a retail checkout was a 10-pack of Wrigley's Juicy Fruit Chewing Gum purchased at the Marsh Supermarket in Troy, Ohio at 8:01 a.m. on June 26, 1974. The barber pole became the universal symbol for barbers as it resembles the bloody bandages of barber surgeons of the past who practiced bloodletting. After being wounded in World War II, the legendary Finnish sniper Simo Häyhä, or the White Death, was thought to be dead and placed on a pile of bodies. A week later, he regained consciousness and had to correct the newspaper release about his death. During World War I, Allied soldiers used glowworms as trench lamps, storing the bioluminescent insects in bottles for light. Their service was so helpful that they were honored in 2004 when Princess Anne unveiled a London memorial for animals and insects that aided the war effort. The little tune that Samsung's washing machines play when they're finished washing is from Franz Schubert's The Trout. Some Civil War ships used 500-pound cotton bales for armor. The first reference to the Grinch was not in How the Grinch Stole Christmas. He first appeared in the book Scrambled Egg Super in 1953. He later appeared in a 1955 poem The Hubbub and the Grinch before the famous story of him was published. Several European countries, including France and Germany, have the Nutri-Score, which is printed on food and indicates how healthy it is. Astronauts aboard the ISS experience alternating 45 minutes of daylight and 45 minutes of darkness. This means that they witness 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets every 24 hours. After Georgia was readmitted to the Union in 1868 following Reconstruction, pro-Confederate unrest prompted them to be expelled again in December of 1869 until January of 1870. When the Wii U failed miserably, the Nintendo CEO halved his own salary for half a year instead of laying off his employees. In 1970, Sesame Street was banned in Mississippi for having a racially integrated cast. There's an island off the coast of South Carolina with a colony of 4,000 rhesus monkeys run by a government research institute. But that's it. Let me know what fact you guys like the most in the comments, leave a like, and of course subscribe for more mind-blowing content coming your way soon.